Shakti Namaste. Good evening, brothers and sisters. My name is Kirk Kerber. I'm a natural-born trance medium. And I promised my viewers I was going to make a longer video about why I believe the planet is haunted and kind of give people a bird's eye view, how I see things as a natural born trance medium, spiritual advisor, spiritual medium. And, you know, there's a lot of people across social media and on YouTube that they give free readings online, maybe on Clubhouse, they'll give free tarot readings or intuitive readings. But there's almost nobody that is talking about what it's like on a day-to-day basis to be a full psychic trance medium and deal with, you know, all the great stuff and all the residue and the fallout of being a medium. I'd like to introduce myself. I've professionally produced, hosted and written over 700 cable TV shows. I'm a little nervous for the live stream, but I've hosted, written, and produced professionally over 700 TV shows on mysticism, magic, mediumship, spirituality, and supernatural phenomenon, dedicated to, you know, questioning, asking questions, trying to give answers, trying to find answers, and trying to expand your spiritual, metaphysical, psychic mind and self here on planet Earth. So just hang out, sit back, relax. We're going to be here about close to an hour, and we're going to talk about all things haunted and why I think the entire planet is haunted. And so once again, I'm, you know, showing you the world through my eyes, from my perspective. And I have to say, after watching TikTok in the middle of the night live stream, I'm like, you know what, Kirk? There's nothing you could say that is going to, like, even raise anybody's eyebrows anymore. I'm also a gay man. I identify as a gay man. I guess I'm called a cis man and a natural born man. And when I got sober, I'm 38 years sober. When I got sober in 1984, I had no problem discussing my sexuality and recovery and trying to find my sexual expression. And but I could not come out of the closet about my psychic ability and who and what I was. And it was the hardest thing. It took, as an adult from 25 on, it took about 20 years to really get comfortable, to start, like, admitting I was a psychic medium. I was a born psychic. And then I went on to do my cable TV show in New York City, Manhattan, live stream. I'm sitting here in Hell's Kitchen, which is one of the most haunted parts of New York City. It's true. So, you know, when I moved into this apartment in like 85, maybe, you know, it was full of ghosts and I had no idea. But we'll get into that. So let's get into it. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. This is going to go on to Instagram in the stories things and the reels. It's going to go on Facebook and YouTube. So you asked for it. I promised you. People asked, please make the haunted planet. So let's get on with it. Okay, so I have some notes, but I'll try to, like, be kind of loose and easy as well. So welcome to Haunted Planet. Okay, we have to first start out with a discussion that most Native American tribes, a lot of Mayans and Incans and indigenous cultures, they believed and they taught their people that this world is not real. It's a world of dreams, okay? And so this is, let me see, I think the Hindus have a word for it called Maya, and it's illusion. And it's a world of dreams, and it's a vision, and it's a hallucination. And then when we leave the body tells us it's time to go, and we pass and we die. What happens is then we wake up. Hi to my viewers, Dresden and the Wizard of Earl. I'm finally doing my Haunted Planet here, so stick around. We're going to be here a while. So we open up, and just to preface that, like if you saw The Matrix and you're into metaphysics at all, and you know it's something called the holographic universe and or the Matrix movies, you know that they posit and put forth this dystopian idea that we're not actually here. We're sitting somewhere with electrodes in our brains, and this is all a simulation for our benefit or to use us somehow and steal our dreams. So the world is really a world of dreams, visions, hallucinations. And so that goes right in line with that I think the planet is haunted, and I think like everybody is haunted. I think we're all haunted, and I think that's kind of like the darkness of the planet, and I also think it's the beauty of the world. So we're going to go into my history of being a psychic trance medium as a kid. We're going to go into haunted movies with or without a psychic medium. So just because there's a movie about a haunted house, most of what people know about ghosts. Now you have to understand I have turned professional 10 years ago, and I actually go to people's homes and psychically clear them like you would see in a movie. But most of what people are going to know about ghosts or hauntings or psychic mediumship, they've seen it all in the movies, and that's their only idea. Even if they're haunted personally, they would never probably call it that. So I do clean houses, psychically and spiritually, professionally, and I get rid of the ghosts. But I will tell you, most of the films, so we're going to go over films and music that I think is haunted or has a haunted quality to it, which I kind of really like. When I was in college, I found the Pink Floyd The Wall, and it was just like a complete revelation. I couldn't stop listening to it, and it was like one of the most haunted things I'd ever heard. And it's a story of a person that's really haunted by a memory. So classic hauntings in films, you're going to see ghosts and in a poltergeist, and things are going to move, and people want to believe or they don't want to believe, which is all part of it. And then you also have some reality TV shows where like I'm a real life Ghostbuster, and I'll go in with the machine and record the sound. So, all of this is going on, but what actually is a real ghost and a real haunting from a natural born, I'm 60 years old. And, so I've been dealing with this basically 50 years on and off in varying degrees. And, there's like Stephen King has a couple movies that were made from books. And one of them was a haunted hospital, which I totally loved. And I liked the story. It has nothing to do with actual hauntings. So the thing to remember is that you think that a place is haunted, and so we mostly, because of Hollywood, think that a place is haunted. And it's actually really the people in the place that are haunted. So we have films that deals with ghosts and deals with hauntings, and then we have like a movie like Ghost with Whoopi Goldberg, Demi Moore, and Patrick Swayze, which was a huge hit in the late 80s, and that has ghosts, hauntings, and mediums and psychics. So we're just going to go over some media, and I'm also going to tell you the history of me growing up as a little medium and not knowing it. So I grew up in the 60s and the 70s. There was nobody to tell me, Kirk, you're a little shaman, about to become a shaman. You're, a little psychic. And but all the adults around me knew that I was different, and I was also really intelligent, and the kids knew something was different about me. And I don't think it was my gayness aside even. I think at the other level was, they were either afraid of me or they like secretly said, I want to talk to you. And that started from a very young age. So we just went over that, it's possible this world is a world of dreams. And it's also possible, I'm going to preface and tell you, now here's the corker you're going to find really hard to believe. About 20 years ago, I got electrocuted in my bathtub. And, I got electrocuted in my bathtub. And it's a long story, but we didn't have hot water for like a week, typical New York City, Manhattan. And I was like, I really want to take a bath. Like, I just want to sit in hot water. And the hot water came on. And I had this Tiffany lamp. It was a freestanding antique lamp on the other side of the toilet. And so I pulled the water, turned the water on, and I put the stopper in. And so there was about, a good amount of water. It was like around my ankles. And I shut the light off, the main overhead light, and I went to turn on this lamp, which had like a 20, 40 watt bulb in it, so it was very low. And I used it basically as a night light. So I went to grab this brass pole chain, right? It was metal brass, and my fingers were wet. And when I did that, somehow it was an old lamp, and it conducted the electricity right into my that's kind of funny. Yeah, the Tiffany lamp. Yep. Yes. So I grab it, and so I grabbed it with my right hand, and all of a sudden, like, I got this like pulse. I don't know if any of you are old enough to have like gone to Disneyland or a carnival. They would have these machines, and it was like a test of strength, and there were two handles, little pole hit things that you could grab onto, and then you stick a quarter in it, and it emits electricity. Like, this was the days before everybody was suing and nothing was politically correct and everything was just a shit show of whatever. I can't believe these like machines didn't make people go into, a cardiac arrest. But as kids, and so you put the quarter in and you grab the things, and it goes, and it keeps administering electric shock to your full body. And then there's like a little meter, big red meter thing that goes, and it says weak, kind of strong, very strong. And if you can hang on for like 2 minutes, then you're like, a He-Man, and you get a little prize. So, I had seen in a movie, but when that thing turns on and you first grab it, it like, you feel this like, it's like a, and your forearm muscles immediately tighten up. And it starts going through your body. And, I saw in a movie that a person was in their socks and a robe and in the middle of the night, and they went to get some cereal, and they were talking on the phone at the same time, and they dropped the milk, and the milk puddled on their floor, and they grabbed the refrigerator, and the refrigerator administered a shock, and the puddle of milk held them to the current and to the refrigerator, and the person died. And I didn't know that could happen. And if I hadn't really seen that movie probably 25 years earlier, I think I would just be dead. So I grabbed the brass ring with the right side, and it like does that thing. And I'm like, holy fuck. And I realize I'm standing inside the bathtub in a puddle of water, and I am being electrocuted in real time. And it starts just zipping up here. And it's like, and I'm like, holy fuck, I think I'm going to die. And, I remembered that movie. And I realized, if you don't fall out of this bathtub somehow and you don't get away and you don't get out, this is it. And time stopped. I can just tell you this, time stopped. It went in slow motion. And so I'd had other times in my life as a psychic and a spiritual person and a psychically aware, metaphysically open person. I'd had times in my life where time stopped or time sped up. Yeah, it was scary as fuck. And so, I hear the voice of God or angels, and they say, listen, Kirk, if you don't get out of this, we can't save you. And it's going to be the end. Because I'd already had 4 near-death experiences, so I'd already been close to death, like a lot of my life, due to alcohol, cocaine overdose, traffic accidents, people choking me to death. I mean, it's just bizarre. So my perception of things, it was completely different. I was drinking and doing coke like an addict for almost 12 years as a teenager. And so everything, your whole perception about everything, time speeds up, you take drugs, then you start to overdose, time slows down. And so in the bathtub, it started slowing down, and I kind of started to leave my body, and I saw what was happening. And so these angels said, listen, Kirk, if you can't, people were choking me. I had to tell you, it was a family member that had a psychotic break when I was 7 years old. And I'm not going to go into, it was rather unsavory, but yeah, my dad had a psychotic break. This one Saturday afternoon, I was watching cartoons. I was about 8 years old, and he started tickling me, and the next thing I know, he became like a devil, and he had a psychotic break, and he started choking me, and I was started to pass out once again, lose consciousness. So he was killing me, and I think I put my feet, I was so small, and he was such a big, he was like 6 foot. I put my feet up on his chest, and I propped him up there, and he couldn't squeeze the last ounce of life out of me because of that. And yeah, I know it's fucking brutal shit, but the whole thing's been like that anyway, so it was par for the course anyway. So back to the bathtub. So the angels tell me they show up, and they'd shown up before at different times, and I knew they were real. I didn't be like, God, am I going home now? Do I get out of here? They said, if you don't get out of this bathtub, there's nothing we can do. And all of a sudden time just stopped, and they said, listen to our voice, and on 1, 2, and 3, you're going to try to jump and get out of it and fall out of the bathtub on purpose, even if you crack your head open. And, people said that, the heart line actually in the body is in the left-hand arm. The main, vena cava thing goes, right here. And that's usually why in Western marriage they'll wear the ring on the ring finger. So, they said that if you would have grabbed it with your left arm, you would have been dead because it would have gone straight to your heart. And so, yeah, 1, 2, 3, you're going to have to jump. And it's the only way to get out of it. And I remember time being really choppy and chaotic. And they went 1, 2, 3, and I kind of jumped and fell. And I left my body. And there's a gap of about 15 or 20 minutes. And all of a sudden I'm sitting on the edge of my bed. And a person I was dating at that time, for some reason, my phone was ringing. I had a landline, and the phone just kept ringing. And he's also a shaman, and a psychic and a magic person. And he must have picked up on it. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I don't know what the fuck just happened, but I could feel like my entire energy and aura just flooded with complete white light. So this guy comes over and he's like, what's going on? What happened? And I was like, I just got electrocuted in my bathtub. And he goes, you look like you're full of white, divine, that from heaven energy, white, like you're just, your whole aura is blown open and it's like silver. So he said, you also look 10 years younger. So, point of fact, the internet was just kind of starting, and I was getting on all these Yahoo groups going like, near-death experience, did I actually die that day? And I found a shaman, and he said, you died that day. And the angels made a decision to split off the universe and create a separate universe so you could continue on and find out what happens till the end of your life. And I was like, so he basically said you're dead. And so for, I don't know, about 3 to 6 months, I always imagined, you know what, it's entirely possible that I'm just laying on the floor of my bathroom dead. Like for all of eternity, there's a part of me stuck there. It's just totally bizarre. So, what kind of help? So they told me you might be dead. So the whole reason, I apologize for that whole long convoluted story, you might be talking to a ghost. And so, after that, I was like, I was just started doing my TV show, and I was like, yeah, absolutely. Multiverse, different timelines, different dimensions, different realities. Absolutely. If you watch my vids, which I know, Kenny, you've seen most of them, that's what we talk about. We talk about alternative universes. And, Bashar, the Los Angeles-based channeler healer, who channels an entity. He's a medium. He's not psychic. He's a medium, but he talks about how we are in a computer-generated simulation, but it's just a 5D simulation. So, okay, let's go on. So, that's all that. So, you might be talking to a ghost. And after that, on my TV show, every so often, a couple of months, I would do a show called Haunted Planet. Welcome to Haunted Planet. So some people say, this is all an illusion and we're here in the Matrix. This is a simulation and it's actually, like I said, a 5D generated hologram. If you want to read further on it, you can go to Holographic Universe. So, the question is, are we in a vision, a dream, a hallucination? And yes, when we die and leave this body, we actually wake up. And they take you to your counselor and say, what did you think? How did you like this? What did you do wrong? And you have your life review. So here we are on Haunted Planet. I'm quitting smoking. Yeah, you know what? I was smoking in a couple of my other vids. And I decided to stop smoking in my vids because I know people are trying to quit and it's probably triggering. I heard a woman who tried to quit smoking and her therapist made her imagine a cigarette was going up into the air, into the clouds, and never returned to her. And for some reason it worked, and she was like, I never had another cigarette again. So, we're going to talk about spirits, ghosts, phantoms, specters, entities, banshees, spooky ghosts, poltergeists, and also something that I call dirty ghosts. And I've said the planet is full of dirty ghosts. Yeah, tobacco. Well, being spiritual and being a medium and being a shaman, it's plant. You know what I mean? It's a plant. that, and you know, it goes back to Mother Goddess, and it goes back to ceremony, and all kinds of things. So there's dirty ghosts, and then you also can Google the ghost in the machine. And so the ghost in the machine is the basic idea is there's a computer or a machine or a computer program, and there's these phantom things that happen. Like, what was that Philip K. Dick movie, Blade Runner, was having to do with a lot of ghosts and phantoms, and there's other films. We're going to talk about them. And then there is something called a dirty ghost. Excuse me, I said dirty ghost. Hungry ghost. And so all the way back into Chinese Buddhism, you know, in the East is I'm the ghost in the machine. I love it. Of course I am. Yeah, what was that movie? It started out as a animation, and they made a movie. The Ghost in the Machine, I think, was the actual name of it. Anyways, so let's start off. Oh, a hungry ghost. So a hungry ghost, actually Asian, Eastern, Hindu, mysticism, they all believe in ghosts. They do. And so they have their own version of Ghostbusters, and they try to capture the ghosts and put them like in a box, or they try to put them in a building or a place so they can't bother anybody else. This is actually true. It's called the hungry ghost. A hungry ghost is that if you engage in lust or greed or any kind of sin, and you don't respect your body, then you die and you become this hungry ghost. And a hungry ghost is, they're ghosts that weigh like 1,000 pounds, and they're starved all the time, but their mouth is like a tiny pinhole. And every time they try to put this food into their mouth, it won't go in. And they just wander the earth starved. So you can Google the hungry ghosts. So here's my story as a kid, where I start out, okay, I'm a little medium, I don't know it, but I'm watching these TV shows. I'm watching Dark Shadows. It was black and white originally, and you know, there were vampires or witches and psychics and psychic phenomenon, and you know, there were just certain things, like the Twilight Zone was, you know, every once in a while there'd be something about a psychic or a haunting or a ghost. So I kind of like my ears like perked up when I saw those things. I was about 8 years old, 9, 10, and I would gather all the kids together in the neighborhood, and I would say, we're going to have a seance. And yeah, Dark Shadows is great. We're going to have a seance. And I would get all the kids into my mom and dad's garage. Yeah, definitely. And I'd say, hey, we're going to have a seance. And we would do this thing where we would all sit around. And then we would get one kid to volunteer. And like, you know, when you were drunk and you're 13 at a party or I don't know, something, and you look in the mirror and you say, Mary Worth, Mary Worth. You know, and then you'll see like a ghost behind you or something. Lizzie Borden, the ghost of Lizzie Borden's going to get you. And so we put a kid laying down on the floor in the garage, and there's like 9 of us. 1 is at their head, 2 at the shoulders, 2 here, and on down to the feet. And we would say this thing. So if the guy's name was, you know, Joey or some name, we'd say, I would lead it, and I would say, you know, Joey is, Lizzie Borden. Lizzie Borden took an ex. She gave her husband 40 whacks when she saw what she had done. She gave her mother 41. Okay, let's go back. Stay on point here. So the kids were all around this other kid laying on the floor. We're asking the spirits to be with us, and we're going to have a session. And so I say, Joey is sick. And then all the kids repeat me, Joey is sick. And then I say, Joey is dying. And they say, Joey is dying. And then I say, Joey is dead. And they say, Joey is dead. And then we imagine he's leaving his body. And then I'm like, we're ready to resurrect, bring new life into Joey. And then we all lift him up very gently by 2 fingers. And we say, light as a feather, heavy as a board. And we just keep repeating it to see if the body would float in thin air. And just never got tired of doing stuff like this. So that's I started doing that, even though I didn't know who or what I was. My father owned a bunch of property in East LA. And East LA, even now, and even at that time, was a ghetto of just little shanty towns. And if you know what a shanty town is, it's like you find some wood and you just nail it together somehow and you put a door on there and that's what you live in. And so my father grew up in the 30s and the 40s in Los Angeles, and he grew up in a shanty town, no floor. So if you ever wondered where the expression dirt poor came from, that's where it comes from. You're so poor you don't have a floor. And that's the kind of house my dad grew up in. And then my dad started a company, and he kept socking everything away and cooking the books. And so he would go and he would find these little corner lots of property, and he would get the money together and buy that one tiny thing. And there was other shanty town houses on these things. And so one time I was a kid, about 7 or 8, and he said, we're going to go bulldoze some of these houses. Everybody's out and it's our property now. And I remember sitting there in the car, and it was like really, really hot that day, like August, and really like no wind or nothing, no rain, the dirt was really like no water in it. And so the bulldozer comes up and it's like digging up all the dirt is in the air. And I remember looking at some of these houses, and I remember thinking like how much pain there was in the house. Like, boy, this house is like, it's like watching somebody's life go up, watching somebody's dreams disappear, and how sad it was. And so that was one of the things that really, like, I could see spirits, and I could see everything that the people felt in these houses. And, that was that. And, then it was Easter Sunday around that same time, and we went to a park, and the park was broken up in short grass parcels, and there was like a pavement where cars could come through in the middle. And I was running around, and we were having the picnic, and I ran far away from my family, and I ran to one of the parts where it stopped, and there was a road for cars. And I stood there, and everything got really quiet. And I heard this car like out of nowhere. And it was going like screeching. And then the next thing I know, this car goes right up onto the cement and into the traffic pole or the traffic light. And it just wraps itself instantly around, and it's all happening in slow motion right in front of me. And the car, was just like, I don't know, a 4-seater sedan something. And it just started like in slow motion. It just started turning into like a crushed soda can. And the guy that was driving the car was probably 24 max. And he had like green, yellow eyes. He was kind of like a hippie, this is like 1967, 68, right in the middle of the 60s starting. And he knew he was dying, and I hope you don't mind, this is going to be a trigger warning here. his legs were being cut off as the car like accordioned right in front of me, and he was dying. And I was on the passenger side view, and he reached out and tried to open the door, and he threw the door open, and then he died right in front of me. And I didn't really have to have anything explained to me. I kind of was like, I just stood there in silence, and watched this guy die and leave his body right in front of me. And I'm like 7 or 8 years old. So that really told me, bad shit can happen here. People die and they leave their bodies, and they can die in really dramatic ways. But I also think as a psychic medium, maybe that guy's spirit attached to me. It's completely, totally possible. So we lived about, if you just joined, we're talking about Haunted Planet, people, places, and things, films and music that is haunted. My name's Kirk Kerber. I'm a natural-born professional medium, psychic medium, and I'm just giving people a view of the world through the eyes of a medium and a person that is always connected to the spiritual and psychic. So we lived about half an hour from Disneyland in Orange County, California. And when Disneyland opened, they opened up something called the Haunted Mansion. And the Haunted Mansion it's a ride, and you go underground, and it starts off really slow, and you just hear people singing and stuff. And then you're on this conveyor belt thing like at a Disneyland ride, and you come up upon this medium, and it's a disincarnated head in a crystal ball, in a big crystal ball, and her name is Madame Leota, and she's had different color faces, sometimes blue, sometimes green, sometimes purple. They've updated her over the course of the last 50 years, but Madame Leota is summoning the spirits at the beginning of the Haunted Mansion. And she says something, ghoulies and ghosties, wherever you are, wherever you may dwell, you will now come and show yourself when I ring the bell or something. And so you hear this bell, and it keeps going. And so all the spooks and the ghosts and the phantoms and the specters, they all come out during the ride. And then at the very end of it, they're like, we hope you've enjoyed this. And I just loved it. And it also told me, yes, there are spirits everywhere. And I just loved the whole Madame Leota thing. And at the very end of the ride, you're sitting in it's called a doom buggy, a buggy. And there are these mirrors, and it's an animation trick, and they say, if you're not careful, a ghost is going to follow you home. And then you look in the mirror while your little car is going by, and there's a ghost sitting in the car with you. So so all of that was going on, and told me there's a different reality. Being a natural born psychic medium, I just clued into that stuff. Obviously, I couldn't go on YouTube, and I couldn't really go to the library and ask for a book on psychic mediumship, because in Orange County they would just be, you're the devil and blah blah blah. So there was nobody to ask about, nobody to talk to. The next thing that happened was at my dad's office, there was this upstairs crawl space where old papers for the taxes got filed. It's just you're supposed to keep 10 years of your paper records. This is in 1967. And so that you had to keep all that paper in order if they came back for you. And so obviously no computers. And I was up there, and I would sleep there, and sometimes eat my lunch up there, and you had to crawl a big ladder. It was almost half a story, a full story. And I would go, and you could only really, it was a crawl space. I mean, you couldn't stand up straight. And one day I happened to see this trunk, an old trunk like you would see in a movie. And I'm like, what the hell is in there? And I go over there, and I crawl over there, and I drag it to me, and I open it up. It's got this really musty smell, and there are photographs of my aunts, uncles, great aunts, great grandparents, and like 2 generations back of all these photographs that were like yellowing and old, and I was looking at these photographs, and these people seemed haunted, and the photographs seemed haunted, and they were all dead at this point, and I just kind of kept pondering, like, oh, there's like these people's lives are all over, and they were alive at one time, and this is how they dressed, and this was like, it was a big thing to like stand and get photographed in front of a car when the Model T and the Fords first came out. It was like a big, like, if you had a car, you got photographed in front of that car. So, hi, Lisa. Kirk Kerber here, psychic medium, talking about the planet being haunted and people, places, and things. And, you know, Hollywood versions of being haunted and actual versions of being haunted. So these, I looked at these photographs and I was like, these people were so unbelievably haunted in the photos. That was like another thing. It's just like there were all these ancestors and their spirits are around, and now they're gone. And are they gone? So that's your kind of main setup. So, you know, like I said in the movies, ghosts, psychics, and psychic mediums in popular culture are usually like thrown together in a big grab bag. And, you know, they're usually just stapled together, and they always go hand in hand. And, you know, the media, there's media ghosts, Hollywood movies of hauntings, ghosts, and then they can also contain some kind of divination, some kind of psychic person comes in to try and get rid of it. But then you also have just films about psychic ability. Thank you, Alexa. Alexa, set a timer for 30 more minutes, please. Alexa, set a timer for 30 minutes, please.
30 minutes, starting now.
So, I'll try to be brief. So if you're watching this video and you're just interested in psychic mediumship or mediumship in general, you know, just try to suspend your disbelief. I'm just going to show you the world through my eyes. And, okay, we'll take questions at the end. I'm gonna remember the questions. So, let me just tell you that psychic mediumship goes all the way back to the beginning of civilization. This is not something that just happened in 1984 and everybody's a psychic and a tarot card reader. As far back as human civilization, the first shamans got the tribe together when humanity lived in caves. I guess that's the story. And, you know, they found fire, and so fire was like their first god, and they would all sit around that fire, maybe in the cave or out. And so the first shaman, when people started having language, would tell these stories about the sun and the moon and fire and how important these things were. And so they were the first shaman and the first mediums. Then, I don't know, there's like 1,000 years, and all of a sudden, like, Egypt is created, Mesopotamia is created, the Middle East is created, and each king and or queen either had a psychic spiritual advisor that was a priest, or they had a wise man sage. And so the kings and queens would always have a psychic medium or a spiritual advisor, or somebody advising them as their psychic medium person. And they would also, Dresden, I'm gonna get you at the end. We're gonna ask questions at the end. So, you know, the kings and queens asked for an oracle, for divination, all the way pretty much since the beginning. So, psychic mediumship has been alongside humanity, divination, and oracle type of people to talk to the king and queen and help them make their decisions has been all the way since the beginning. So So let's see, psychic mediumship, spiritual mediumship. If you just joined in, so my first teacher said I'm a normally born psychic trance medium is what she called me. The first people were medicine people. Yes. Okay. We got that part. So let's just, I did all the preface. So let's go to some top films that have mediums and ghosts and hauntings. So all of these are different, but they, kind of like I said, get clumped into one thing. So we have films about magicians. We have films about tarot readers. We have films about psychics. We have films about ghosts. We have films about hauntings. We have films about clearing stuff. So once again, I professionally clean houses, psychically and spiritually. I have had people flying me into a city to come to their house and clean it. But once again, I'm going to tell you, more so than a place being haunted, it's the people in the place that are haunted. Now, the place can be haunted before they move in, and they're just not paying attention. And so all of a sudden shit starts happening, like in Amityville. But they also, if you really study the case of the Amityville horror movie, which is an actual case, about an hour outside of New York, the people in the house they had opened themselves up to bad mojo already. I mean, there was already some fucked up thing going on with the family and the kids. But, okay, so, if you know your Shakespeare and your Macbeth, in Macbeth is haunted. He's haunted by his ambition, and he goes to see these three witches. So you're always, in almost every single story, if you look for it and you're paying attention, there's always going to be a medium, or a wise person, or an oracle, or tarot cards, or a witch, or a magic person, or some kind of psychic phenomenon. In almost every single movie you watch, even though it's not billed as a scary supernatural movie, there's always an element, because that element is in us, and we're not going to get rid of it. You're not going to get rid of our connection to the spiritual world, because you are spirit. You are energy. So, anyways, once again, back to Disney. When I was a kid, there was a film called Escape to Witch Mountain. And these kids, little kids in the film, were actually witches and psychics. And they, got in trouble, and everybody found out what they were. And somehow they get in this RV and they have to get up to Witch Mountain, to where, some alien or somebody is going to pick them up and cart them away from planet Earth. And when I saw that movie too, I was like, I'm like them. I'm like those kids. So we get to the Wizard of Oz, and it's psychic beginning of the film is where Dorothy actually meets an oracle. She runs away from home, and she meets this like carnival guy, and he's got a crystal ball, and he looks into the crystal ball, and he tells her future, and he sees Dorothy's grandma, and he was like, I think you need to go home. Also in Pee-wee's Big Adventure, now we're getting into like just the films. All of Pee-wee's Big Adventure, Pee-wee's Big Adventure also has a psychic. And so if you've seen that movie, in the middle of his journey, he's scared, he's lonely, he's lost, he doesn't know what to do, and he goes to a psychic. It's a fake psychic, but he does go to one. And so, like I said, psychics, ghosts, and witches and magicians are really in about 90% of all films. Then we get to Stephen King's opus, Carrie. And, they live in a haunted house. The mother is haunted. She's a psychic medium, and the mother tells her she's evil, and she starts using her powers for evil. She can't control them, and she thinks she's evil, and the mom says you're evil because you're psychic. And, we all know how the story ends. It doesn't end well at the high school prom. So some other films, if you want to get a pen and write some of this down, or these would be my top picks for these types of movies that are either deal with haunting, ghosts, psychic mediumship, or haunted places, or tarot cards or tarot readers. One that's really good, that's kind of like a realistic portrayal of having the gift, is Stir of Echoes with Kevin Bacon. And here's another one, The Red Violin. So if you've never seen The Red Violin, it starts out with a psychic and a tarot reading. And The Red Violin is probably one of the most, it's one of the most underrated films of all time. I mean, it really, the first time I saw it, I didn't know what it was. And I was like, I could not believe what a masterpiece of film that was. And it's all based on a psychic reading. We also have a TV show that is 7 to 8 seasons, called Medium. And it's about real life psychic Alison Dubois. And it's based on a real person, a real psychic. She was a psychic medium. She had no idea how to use her psychic ability. She starts working for the district attorney in Arizona. And it shows how it's not an exact science, so please forgive everything that you've read and seen in these movies and, other TV shows. If you watch Medium, it's the most realistic portrayal of how a person gets messages, and the process can be so messed up. You've got a Bond film, Live and Let Die, 70-ish. That film also has a tarot reader throughout the whole movie. I can't remember her name, but Live and Let Die, tarot reading person. You also have Now You See Me 1 and 2 with Woody Harrelson and I think Mark Ruffalo. It's a great film. I liked both of them. Tarot cards and psychic ability and fake psychic ability figure very prominent in both of those movies. And then, of course, The Matrix has the Oracle. So that's about psychic phenomenon and about a future life reading. Okay, Kenny, we'll see you next time. Another film about ghosts, specters, and hauntings is Ghost, which we talked about with Whoopi Goldberg, and it's a psychic who thinks she's a fake psychic, and turns out she's actually a real psychic. Traditional ghost haunting top picks would be Poltergeist, Sixth Sense. I See Dead People, that's where that comes from. And the kid is a little mystic and a psychic, and everybody in the movie is dead. Of course, I figured that part out, like from the very beginning. I was like, the kid, everybody's dead, and Bruce Willis is dead. If you haven't seen it, spoiler alert. There's also a great movie called The Innocence. From 1961. It's a black and white classic psychological horror film, and it's about these two ghosts that are children, and they're like kind of evil too. They're not just regular ghosts. So you also have one of my favorite movies, Carnival of Souls, the original, not the remake. And you want to talk about a person that is unbelievably haunted. If you haven't seen the movie, spoiler alert, but I would recommend watching it. You can watch it on YouTube for free. It's about a woman that may or may not be dead. So what I talked about at the beginning of the film about not knowing whether or not I was a ghost, Carnival of Souls is a similar thing. We also have the Christmas Carol, and everybody knows about that. And, Ebenezer Scrooge is haunted by the ghosts of Christmas, past, present, and future. We have Ghostbusters, which is kind of a lighthearted take, but nonetheless, there's a lot of truth about ghosts in that film. I think I said The Gift, Twilight Zone, Charmed, Spiritual, Supernatural, The Craft, The Covenant, and of course Harry Potter. The Shining actually is about ghosts and hauntings and malevolent spirits and psychic ability as well. And then last couple picks are Yeah, that's true. Absolutely. Christmas Carol is about him seeing ghosts. He's completely haunted. He's a rich man and he's haunted, and the ghosts come and get him on Christmas Eve. Let's see. Lost Highway by David Lynch is probably a masterpiece of people, places, and things being haunted. And you, at the end of the movie, you're going to question whether or not, like, these people were alive or not. Or something called Transmigration of Souls. There's a film called 1408 with John Cusack. And then there's another haunted film, Jim Carrey, and the film is just called 23. It's about a person that's haunted by paranoia and numbers. So if I've got, forgotten anything, if on YouTube or Facebook or Instagram you want to like write your own favorite movies, please do so we can all share. And then I have some haunted music. I have two artists, Sarah Jessica Hallman, and almost all of her music has a haunted quality to it, and a beautiful haunted quality. It just reminds you of abandonment and abandoned places. And two songs, Break My Heart and Freight Train, are just unbelievably haunted. Freight Train is really about, I think, one of her, like her grandpa or her father, I think it's her grandpa, passing away. And grief is a freight train. What's a little pain when nobody knows your name? It's beautiful. So if you're not familiar with Sarah Jessica Holman, I think it's Sarah Jessica Holman or Sarah Jackson-Holman. Both really, all of her music is beautiful. And then, of course, we get to Nine Inch Nails. So, Trent Reznor is the ultimate haunted poet. And, he has songs called Dying. He has an entire album called Ghosts. And he has an album called Bad Witch. He has one called The Fragile, Gone Still, and The Slip, and The Wretched, which is one of my absolute favorite songs. So we're going to wrap it up now in the next 15 minutes, and I'll take some discussion. So here's another thing you might want to write down is there is an island. Well, first of all, there's a documentary about Fukushima. And the reporters went there like 5 years after Fukushima or whenever it was. And there's only like 15 people living on the island now or in that area. And this one guy stayed because there were all these cows and he didn't want to just kill the cows. And so he just said, I'm going to stay until the cows die. And I know I'm dying of cancer and I don't care from radiation. And it's all about how haunted Fukushima is and abandoned and sad. But there's also a documentary about a Japanese island that everybody abandoned. And so 97% of all the residents left this island. And this woman, who was a doll maker, anytime somebody would disappear, she would make a life-size doll of that person as she remembered them. And then she would put them outside, like sitting at the bus or something, or sitting in front of a supermarket on a bench. And so this whole island has all these dolls. One of the creepiest, and it's a documentary, it's real. So you can Google Haunted Japanese Island of Dolls. And then you have another haunted island of dolls in Mexico where, I don't know, somebody's daughter died. I can't remember what the exact deal was, but this guy was upset about his daughter's death, and he started like collecting dead dolls, and he would hang them up in trees or something like that. And there's several documentaries and several clips on YouTube. And so the entire island, now this has been going on for 20, 25 years. People will go there and hear about the island of dolls, and they'll bring their own dolls and they'll take photos, and so the whole island is filled with doll parts and haunted dolls and really just fucked up weird shit. So, also cities can be haunted. I've been to Paris and London, actually, and I grew up in Los Angeles. And, you know, Paris is unbelievably haunted because there's like 10 million dead people underneath Paris. And you can Google this too. They found these catacombs and like, I don't know, 25 million, 18 million skulls, human skulls. And they don't know how they all got down there. They're guessing how it got down there. But underneath, yeah, you walk the streets of Paris and parlez-vous français. So, yeah, Paris is definitely haunted with 18 million dead skeletons underneath. You've also got London, which I lived in for a while, which is very haunted, but not in a malevolent and mean way. And then you've got Los Angeles, which is like unbelievably haunted and cursed. So now we get to New York City Hell's Kitchen. That's where I live. And my building is actually one stop on a ghost tour. This is actually true. There was a famous murder under my window, and Hell's Kitchen is supposedly like the most haunted place in all of New York City or New York City, Manhattan. And my street is the most haunted block. So, and I've been living in this hotel. I've been living in this apartment over 30 years. And so this is what I attracted in my 20s when I first came to New York, was literally one of the most haunted places in the city, one of the most haunted street, and yep, the most haunted building. So you ask if there's ghosts. I mean, I obviously have been living in a haunted house for the last 30 years, as well as the theater district. So I think that's about it. I think I covered everything. You know, like the topic is so vast, but there's different variations of how I do cook. Yep, I'm actually a cordon bleu chef. That's why I went to London, was to go to cooking school. So I was a bartender for 20 years, and the place that I bartended at was a 500-seat restaurant, and that was also reportedly haunted, 3 floors. The building was like 300, 400 years old, and it was an old church at one point, which I'm going to guess they did exorcisms in. And, you know, things would happen. The lights would shut on and off. The beer taps would pull forward and just start pouring out beer, and nobody was around it. The telephone would ring after everybody left, and it was like, it would ring and we'd go and answer it, and there was nobody there. There was all kinds of shit like that. And a reporter came in and said, I'd like to, interview the owner and the bartenders about this place being haunted. And the owner didn't want that kind of publicity. But, so yeah, I attract haunted places. I'm probably haunted after everything I told you. And, I don't know, we got about 5 minutes left. Well, let's just take a deep breath. My name's Kirk Kerber. If you just checked in, I'm actually one of New York City's most respected psychic mediums. I'm technically, what my teacher told me, a psychic trance medium. And I read people's past lives at this point. I've been giving readings over 30 years. And I don't particularly like to do it right now. And I'm probably going to have to take about a year off because I'm exhausted. But so, Shakti Namaste. I've produced over 700 cable TV, live studio cable TV shows about metaphysics and supernatural, psychic, spiritual, mystical, magical phenomenon and content. So if anybody has any questions, I know there's only like maybe 1 or 2 people watching this. So what were the questions? Anybody? Dresden? Let me see. Kenny left. I can't remember. Can we sage to get rid of ghosts? Basically, it depends on the ghost. Some of them are unbelievably mean and they won't leave, and others, like the minute you tell them you don't belong here. So, the famous murder that occurred under my building, under my window, you can Google it and find out about it. But this kid, these teenagers had a West Side Story throwdown. Like the park, there's a park right across the street, a New York City park, just like you see in all the movies and TV shows. And these two gangs were going to have a throwdown. It actually is a real thing. And this two guys showed up from the one gang. I think it was the Kings, maybe. And this other two kids showed up early, and nobody was there. And so the one kid who was the leader of the Kings just said, I'm just going to he just pulled out this knife, this like a big bayonet, and he just sucker stabbed both these kids. And one of them ran away and ran up to like the West 50s while he was bleeding. And the other one, who was like stabbed a couple of times, pounded on the door of my building. So I'm on the first floor and not the ground floor. So there's the ground floor. And the funny thing is that the sidewalk has had a stain whenever it rains. The sidewalk has a stain of like blood and never goes away. So the sidewalk's haunted. So this kid was bleeding to death, and he ran up and he pounded either on my apartment door. I'm in 6, and the guy next to me is 6. I'm in 5, apartment 5. And he died in either one of these. And, after I'd been here like 10 years, I'm like, there's a ghost in here. Something's in here. And then when the internet came on, I started this through my TV show, and doing haunted city. This city is haunted, that city, and finding out that indeed the street I live on is one of the most haunted streets in all of New York City. So, and the building, of course. And so the guy died either in this apartment or the one right next door. And he's kind of gone now. I finally told him, Oh, Elisa, thank you. I really appreciate that. I really do. I have over 400 hours of content on YouTube. Just to let you know, it's all free. So what are my signs? You mean sun, moon, rising. So I'm a triple Gemini. Yep, Gemini, sun, moon, and Mercury. And I'm a Pisces rising and a Scorpio in the 8th house. So Scorpio in the 8th house basically makes me a magic person or a witch, It literally, legitimately means Scorpio in the 8th house. You got some major darkness. You got some major, shit there's addiction issues. Now you add the Pisces to it. It's even worse. And, 8th house Scorpios are no freaking joke. I can tell you that. It's a lot. It takes decades to own that kind of Scorpio, because you walk in the door with that energy and it just offends people. So, I don't dress when I go outside. I'm not telling it hey, I'm a psychic. By the way, I try to dress totally normal so people don't know what I am and don't know who I am when I go outside. When I travel, I don't want anybody to know what I am. I don't wear pentacles, or I don't advertise whatsoever that I am what I do professionally. In today's world, if you go up to the ticket counter and you hand them your ticket and they're like, this is a different energy, they're just going to type in your 2 names and see, what you do anyway. But so, anybody else for any questions? And I think we will wrap it up. Can you think of anything? Okay, so we've kind of been here. I guess it's around 45 minutes to an hour. So my name is Kirk Kerber. I'm a natural born psychic medium. I am a professional. I've been professional medium full-time for the last 10 years. And, I'm probably the only person on the internet that specifically talks about what's it like as just a person waking up, living and breathing, and being psychically and spiritually sensitive. And, there's people that have said, I would do anything to have your gifts. And I'm like, I don't think you understand what goes with it. Okay, so Lisa, I've never been to Vancouver. I've been to the West Coast, I think Montreal. I'm such a bad American. I apologize. I've been to the Banff Springs Hotel. And if you want to know about a mofo haunted place, that place is haunted. So, like The Shining, apparently one of or a couple of Stanley Kubrick's photographers got a picture of The Shining, and he sent these photographers to go and look at The Shining and take pictures of it, the Banff Springs Hotel. And basically the basic energy and aura of The Shining was modeled after two hotels, and one of them was Banff Springs. Not every single city is haunted. I mean, as far as I know about, Banff is freaking unbelievably gorgeous. It's breathtaking. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there is probably what's the most cosmopolitan city that is mostly all French? I mean, I'm sure, and that's on the East Coast, about an hour away from New York. The New York border. There's probably some haunted because it's old enough. The city, it has to be like ancient. Like if you're talking about the American South, which I didn't mention, the American South, because of the slavery and the all the battles that took place and all the killing that went on, just like wild bloodshed in the Civil War. So the American South, Alabama, Louisiana, New Orleans, completely haunted, completely and totally haunted. Absolutely. The French Quarter, completely haunted. Okay, I think we're gonna, Dresden, Libra Sun. Do you know Moon and Rising? All right, I think we're going to leave it there. You guys are probably tired. And, you're in New Mexico? Yeah, there's definitely some haunted shit going on in New Mexico in the States. Yes, I've been there. Thank you, Alexa. With all of those ruins, and mystical places, absolutely heavy duty spiritual shit, if not even alien shit going on there. Albuquerque, and then White Sands, absolutely, and Albuquerque, and I think it's Taos would be my guess on those. Los Angeles is built on an Indian burial ground, and I don't think they even bothered to, absolutely. I don't even think they bothered to, fix where the body should go. They just paved over all of these Native American ancestors in Los Angeles. And so the place is haunted, and it's also cursed, beyond belief. I left Los Angeles when I was 24. I mean, I couldn't take it. I do believe that in that there's that area I've driven through across the country 6 times. There is that southwest area once you get into New Mexico and upper New Mexico that's got all those canyons and stuff. Absolutely. But do I believe in aliens? If you watch the X-Files, there's actually a couple shows about aliens and that part of New Mexico, and that they find these alien ruins inside these caves. Okay, we're gonna have to wrap it up. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. And I don't know how to shut these things off always, but I will see you guys next time in the Cyber Temple of Love. I'm wishing you unconditional love in every reality imaginable. Shakti, namaste. Thank you for just being with me and to let me get my riff down on Haunted Planet. And You're very welcome. Elisa, please look for my other vids. And Dresden, thanks for hanging out the whole way through. So I got to figure out how you shut this thing off. So I think that's it, guys. I will see you guys next time, and thank you so much. I wish you a lot of blessings. Thank you. Okay. Okay.